For a guy who's all about winning, Arthur Smith sure doesn't do a lot of it. So far, in his 2.5 seasons as Falcons head coach, he's 18-26. It's no surprise then, people are calling for his head on a pike. The coach doesn't seem to be too fazed, telling The Athletic, "I'm an old lineman. I'm used to getting my ass ripped." It's a poor choice of words considering he's on the hot seat. However, the guy who signed his checks is intending on keeping the beleaguered head coach. I think that's a mistake. So today I want to go over how Arthur Smith is not delivering wins for the Falcons, and why Arthur Blank has more than enough reason to expedite his firing. If I had to guess, Arthur Smith probably isn't a big fan of Succession, the HBO show about failed sons and daughters failing to live up to their father, the billionaire. I imagine it's because he fancies himself a self-made man. Looking back to his rise to head coach of the Falcons, you can see why he could have built up that narrative. As many of you already know, his father is Fred Smith, the founder of FedEx. One of 10 kids, he decided against king learing it and opted for a life of football coaching. After stints as defensive quality coach for the then Redskins and defensive intern for Ole Miss, he eventually worked his way up to offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans. During his 2 seasons as the Titans offensive coordinator, his offenses finished in the top 6 twice, and he was heralded for his update on the Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay style outside zone by incorporating more of a power run-up. His success didn't go unnoticed because, after all, it was a pretty fun story, because most people in his position would just be drinking Mai Tais on a beach somewhere, as opposed to getting yelled at by Mike Vrabel. And who cares if he's got a golden parachute? The kid made something of himself. So when Smith was hired to be the next Falcons coach, it felt like he had earned it. Under his watch, the Falcons put together an impressive roster of offensive and defensive players. In particular, they're stacked with top 10 picks on offense, like Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts. On defense, they haven't invested as much, but guys like A.J. Terrell and Jesse Bates form a solid core. Funny enough, at this point in Smith's tenure, the defense and the offense seem to be performing similarly. This begs the question, why is a team with as many first-round picks, and by first-round picks I mean top 10 picks, not performing significantly better than the defense that barely has had much invested into it? And that's not a rhetorical question. The problem is roster mismanagement. Kyle is a huge part of our offense. You just have to take it with context. Other guys made plays, Smith told a team reporter. It's not fantasy football. We're just trying to win. Arguably, this quote is probably what Arthur Smith is best known for, though I'd argue it also helped his job security. For all the griping that fantasy players do over coaches and players for not giving them the fantasy points they want, they're also very prone to getting gaslit. Makes sense because fantasy is inherently insane. You think you have some sort of control over players and coaches, but you don't. For a while there, the fantasy version of woke was to tell people about how good Arthur Smith's offense was. It's the kind of dissonance brought about drafting Kyle Pitts in the 2nd round. Funny enough, fantasy bought him some runway. Most people assumed he wasted Kyle Pitts and Drake London because he didn't want to pass the ball much. So this year, when he has a top 10 running back like Bijan Robinson, he's actually given him as many attempts as Tyler Algier. Basically, everyone assumed he would feed him the rock, because after all, he was the guy who oversaw some pretty big seasons from Derrick Henry. But it hasn't happened. It's unclear why. Is Bijan Robinson a bad blocker or something? Who knows? And you don't really want to ask him because he's not really into answering questions. But now 3 years into his tenure, it sure seems like there's a pattern of him just not beating his stars. And sure, you could argue that maybe getting the ball to Drake London and Kyle Pitts wasn't going to be that efficient. But in the case of Algier and Robinson, they both have 125 attempts on the season, but Robinson's averaging 4.9 yards a carry, while Algier is averaging 3.2. Taking into account that crazy number, it made me realize he's actually playing his own brand of fantasy football, the kind that only daddy can buy. His behavior kind of makes him seem like the answer to the question, what if Roman Roy became a head football coach? Except that anytime someone questions his authority, he doesn't just try to fire them, he takes away their snaps. It might seem based on his ascent that Arthur Smith decided to choose his own path, but I neglected to tell you how Smith got his first job in the NFL. His father was actually a part owner of the Redskins at the time. And sure, he has some talent as a coach and can definitely design a good offense. But when it comes to being in charge, I don't think he can help but treat this like it's his plaything. And that's the thing, when you get a job when you don't really need one, you're just doing it for fun. And I know he hasn't exactly had a good quarterback, and that might have helped, but does it seem like he would know what to do if he got one? Seems like the kind of guy, if he got Patrick Mahomes, he would have tried to turn him into a shot play maven with no creativity. What's the value added? So, if Arthur Smith is serious about bringing a Super Bowl to the city of Atlanta, he has to return Arthur Smith the sender and find a coach who's the whole package. All right, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Make sure to like and subscribe, and maybe leave a comment letting me know if I missed any good FedEx puns.